Welcome to the Nifty Chicks. In this episode, we chat with our first anonymous guest. She's our optimistic otter who went all in on VeeFriends. Why? Because she believed in Gary Vaynerchuk, his vision, and roadmap. She shares her perspective of getting started in the space along with some new terms. Tune in to hear some great insights for getting started in the NFT space. Let's do this. Welcome to the Nifty Chicks. Hi, Minty Cell.
Hi, Jen FT.
How are you?
I'm good, minus the drilling that's going on at my condo today. So that's super fun.
I know. I have a lot of construction ahead of me this fall, so I feel your pain preemptively.
Yes. Yeah. So we are recording in between drilling sessions. So we're hoping that this lasts for long enough to do a show for you.
That's right. So I am so excited about today's episode, the Optimistic Otter. So
Yes.
she's great.
She really is. I love her. And it really, like we talk about it on the show, but it was so much fun when I ran into her and we realized that we both had this huge love of NFTs, and it seriously was all we talked about the rest of the night. Like, I didn't even want to talk to anybody else there at the event. Just wanted to talk to her.
Yeah, she's just a doll. And I think one of the things that's interesting, we talked about, privacy and being anonymous in the space. And obviously you and I have chosen to be very public about who we are and what we do in this space. But there's a lot of people who don't want everyone to know what they're doing. So as I said in the teaser, that she's our first anonymous guest. And some people might be like, well, why is that? Why can't we just know who it is? But it's really important because there's a lot of, privacy and security concerns with this space, especially now. There's a lot going on in this space. So we want to absolutely fully respect and support her decision to be anonymous. I think it's important for everyone to make that decision themselves.
100%.
Yeah.
So I say we go ahead and get right to it. That way we beat the drill coming back on.
That's right. All right, let's do it.
All right. Okay, so in this episode of the Nifty Chicks, we're doing things a little bit different. We have someone with us that chose to be anonymous. So we've got the Optimistic Otter here. And this is someone that I have known for a few years now. And we recently ran into each other at an event and we were just catching up on our lives. And she mentioned that one of the things she was super focused on currently was NFTs. And I was like, what? I was completely mind blown that she had gotten into it because we knew each other from different spaces. And so then, of course, the conversation the rest of the night was all about NFTs. And I was like, oh my God, you have to come on the show. So please welcome to the show, Optimistic Otter.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And for those of you that are, listening to the podcast, you'll have to go check out the video so that you can see her cute little VeeFriend, the Optimistic Otter. So tell us, I've given a little bit of background, but I would love to hear more about what brought you into this space? What got you interested in NFTs?
Yeah, so I don't really think of myself that much as a super early adopter of things. Like I think I'm adventurous, but I'm never there like day one. So I kind of feel excited that I'm sort of early-ish on, at least with VeeFriends. I bought them at Mint, so that is early, yeah. So I think it started with Bitcoin and Ethereum a couple of years ago. So I remember I was at one conference and I think it was like, when was the big jump? Was it end of 2017 and then it crashed in early 2018, like all of crypto coins? Yeah. So I went to a conference and like at the end of 2017 and literally everyone and their mom was talking about crypto and coins. And so I kind of felt like when everyone's talking about it, either that's early, like mass adoption, or it's about to be a bubble, and it was a bubble. So anyway, I bought some and then it completely crashed, but I was like, whatever, hold it long term. This seems like a cool thing. And so I didn't even think about it again until let's see, 20, what year are we in? So 2020, I think I started just like dollar cost averaging, like buying like $100 worth of Bitcoin and
Okay, if you're
$100.
going to throw out something like dollar cost averaging, you have to tell
Okay.
our listeners what that is.
Sure. Yeah. And even people will say the abbreviation. What is that? DCA. They'll just say DCA. I DCA'd it or
Right.
whatever. So basically, I just set up an automatic transfer from my bank into a Coinbase account
Yep.
and just said, hey, automatically just buy $100 on like, the 5th of the month, whatever. And so no matter what the price was, no matter what the market did, I didn't even pay attention. I just was buying once a month. So that's like, that's called dollar cost averaging, because you're kind of just averaging out the cost that you get in at. Like, you're not trying to ride the waves and really time the market. You're just saying, hey, I just want to be in the market. So let's just do this sort of on an average. Also think of it, if let's say you're like, okay, I have $1,000 to invest. Some people might say, put $1,000 in all right now, or they might say, spread it out over the next 10 months, like $100, kind of like what I did. Or they might say, watch the market really intensely, and when you see a dip, buy the dip. So there's different ways to do it. And I was kind of like, I'm busy running businesses and just living life. I'm just going to do kind of the easy way, at least, in terms of the technical stuff or whatever, just make it automatic. So I never had a ton of Bitcoin or a ton of Ethereum. At least I had some, and I was getting it, pretty good prices. And then in the beginning of 2021, my brother started getting really into degen stuff. So that stands for, what is
I thought it stood for degenerates.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'm thinking, maybe DeFi is the thing I was trying to think of. Is decentralized finance is DeFi. And yeah, degens, degenerates, I don't know. I think they're crazy, like checking out new coins that are like super risky, but super high reward. And they're jumping into liquidity pools and like all this stuff where they're basically saying, hey, I bought this coin. I'm going to let this platform hold on to it so that they can use it in their back end for exchanging and things. And as a result, that platform is going to pay me a really high interest yield on the money.
Right.
So my brother was getting like 3,500% APR, like any number you could name for like crazy APR, APY, he was getting like, it was just insane, but it was super risky. So there's lots of like rug pulls, which is basically like total scams or hacks that could happen. So he had that happen where, he put in like $1,000 and he was making like tons every day. But after 2 days, the smart contract got compromised and all of a sudden all the money was just gone. He lost everything, but he made some other really great moves. And I was like, I want in on this. So
Tell me more.
Right? Yeah. So in the early 2021, I just started playing around with it. So I put in like $300 and I was just like, let me just figure this stuff out. And through that process, I learned what is a MetaMask wallet? What are the different platforms where you can buy coins? So I had only known about Coinbase regular, but then I learned about Coinbase Pro, which at the time was separate and gave more features for trading and actually better fees. And then I learned about Binance. And if you're in the US, you have to use Binance.us, but that means you have to KYC, which is know your customer, and put in like your driver's license. I'm like, I didn't want to do that. And they didn't have as many features. So I used a VPN, which basically blocks where I'm browsing from and makes them think I'm in Europe. So I could set up a regular Binance account. So like, I was just learning all these things that felt like exciting and scary and risky and who knows, but I mean, it's only $30 to me at the time. But I kind of learned all this scary tech stuff, and I was constantly messaging my brother like, are you sure? What do I click next? What do I do next? Because you had to like go through all these crazy steps just to get money in the BNB coin, like the Binance coin, and then into a Binance wallet in MetaMask on a different chain than Ethereum. It was just craziness. Like,
it's like this merry-go-round. I feel like once you start getting in the space, it's like, okay, wait, I have to do what?
Totally. Yeah. And if people are listening and just like, you completely lost me, like, don't worry. Everyone's is lost. Like, you have to have someone who really knows it, walk you through it step by step at this point. That is someone you trust. So long story short, I had kind of just played around with this enough to be comfortable with the technology. And then I started listening to Gary Vaynerchuk's podcast again really heavily because I used to listen all the time, but then he started doing some content I didn't really love. So I kind of stopped listening and then I jumped back on.
Which I just
Yeah.
remembered how we stumbled
Oh,
across the
yeah.
fact that you were into NFTs. You were showing me pictures, and
Oh,
you passed by a picture of you surrounded by Gary's new
Gary's
book.
books. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait
a
go back to
second.
that. Why do you have all those books? And you were like, oh my God, I've been into NFTs. And I was like, I knew it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if anyone's in Gary's world, we can totally get to that
yeah.
amazing thing. He basically sold, I think it was like 1.5 million books in under 24 hours because he said for every 12 books you purchase, I'll give you one NFT. I'll airdrop one NFT. So basically, I'll send it to you for free. You don't have any extra fees to get it. And so, everyone in his community was like, okay, let's go. So it ended up being, very crazy. But that happened in the fall of
Yeah, that
2021.
was
So
like late fall.
yeah, it was like
remember when, yeah.
October, November-ish timeframe. Or maybe it was even like August. He mentioned it, and then it took a
Oh
couple
yeah,
months
maybe.
for
And then,
to,
but you
yeah,
didn't get your books until like later in the year or
yeah,
something.
yeah. So that's jumping ahead a little bit, but totally that is what sort of sparked your mind. You're
That's
like,
what
wait a
sparked
second.
it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started listening to Gary again because I just really love him. I discovered his stuff in like 2016. So I've always really liked him for positive messaging and kind of like no nonsense. Like if you want something, go work hard for it, and have patience and everything. So he was putting out tons of content on his podcast about NFTs and education around the Web3 world and how at the core of it, he was around for the .com bubble. And he's like, hey, I'm seeing this happen again. Where like, there's going to be tons of projects. They're going to all go crazy high valuation. And yes, there will be a winter. There will be a time when everything tanks, but out of the rubble, there will be the Amazons, the eBays, the successful companies that really do rise like a phoenix out of it. So he's like, if you're going to invest, you need to invest in projects you really believe in, with founders you really believe in. And he was saying he was going to launch a project in May of 2021 and called VeeFriends. And he's like, essentially, this is your chance to invest in me because I'm going to do everything possible. I'm going to build businesses. And when it's possible, hey, I could give business ownership or royalty percentages to my owners of these VeeFriends. Like I can do whatever I want to add value. And I thought, there is no one on this planet who works harder than this guy. I definitely don't. So I'm like, yes, take my money. I would like to invest in you. Yeah. So that brings us basically to exactly 1 year ago yesterday from the time of this recording. So he planned to launch VeeFriends on 5/5 because 5 is his favorite number, but he had some technical issues. And so they ended up actually launching on May 11th, 2021.
Wow. That's so, I mean, that's an incredible story. And I think one of the things that really stuck out to me is that you have experienced the ups and downs of the markets and you still pursued the markets. You still pursued investing and dollar cost averaging after you had already bought at a high and it tanked. And I think so many people would have been like, I'm out, like that's enough for me. and
then also you're seeing your brother lose on some of his investments too.
Yeah. Like what compelled you to keep going?
Well, I first read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki when I was like 20 years old. And that is such a terrific book. It just breaks everything down so simply about how you really will never get ahead if you're only just working a job and trading time for money. You really need to make your money work for you. So like building businesses where other people are working in them or investing and things like that. So I am by no means a crazy successful investor. I'm no Warren Buffett, but I have read a lot over the years, and I have invested in mutual funds and like a Roth IRA and things where I basically just, there's this principle that you guys may have talked about before on the podcast, pay yourself first. So they talk about, like, let's say you make $3,000 a month. Instead of paying all your bills and saying, oh, well, I have nothing left over to invest, you want to make it automatic and take money right off the top and invest that money in something, that you have decided is smart. So I personally, I do a Roth IRA as my first step, and say, okay, now what's left is what I'm going to actually use to pay everything else. And if you fall short that month, then you better get creative, sell something from your house on eBay or Craigslist and or get a
Have a
side
garage
job.
sale, like Gary would say.
Yeah, exactly. But no matter what, that has to happen first. And you can set it up automatically, kind of like the dollar cost averaging I was doing. So I have something set up where automatically every single month, $500 goes out of my account into a Roth IRA, rain or shine. And I just made myself never touch it. And over time, compounding interest and dividends that you get from that and things, really add up. And a lot of people talk about trying to time markets, but I've heard from a lot of reading and podcasts I've listened to that it's more important your time in the market versus timing the market.
Yes.
So that's where I'm kind of like, number one, I only put in money I can afford to go to zero. So if all of my money went to zero, with my VeeFriends and other things I've done, trust me, I would cry really hard. But I wouldn't be kicked out of my house. I wouldn't not be able to put food on the table. So I'm only using money I can afford to go to zero, worst case scenario.
Yep.
And after that, what I generally do is I buy things that I think have long-term potential. And then I kind of just close my breath and wait.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, a lot of people participate in dollar cost averaging without even knowing it. Think about all those, incredible people who have been contributing to their 401k through their employer. I mean, that is essentially the same model. And when I was doing that with my 401k, I was investing. I knew it was coming out of my paycheck, but I didn't feel it. And then all of a sudden, a year later, when I had to leave the company, I looked back. I was like, "Oh my gosh, look at this! This account has grown so much." And so we do it kind of passively without even knowing it. But it's really a really smart investment strategy that I fully support. That's awesome. That's very cool. I love it. And so what's I mean, NFTs, so you got into crypto, started with Bitcoin, Ethereum. I think that's very common. It's the most talked about kind of aspect of crypto, those two coins. And you got into NFTs thanks to what sounds like is really thanks to Gary and Gary
100%.
V. And so what has your journey been like? You took us to a year from a year from I think now.
Yeah.
And so what has your last year been like? I mean, are you diversifying into other NFTs, or are you just like, I just want to stick with VeeFriends? Tell me about what your journey's been like since then.
Yeah, so it's funny. I've kind of had both approaches. So at first I was like, I can't believe how much money I ended up putting in, because I originally was just going to buy one VeeFriend. That's it. And then they sat on the floor because there were tech issues and not as many people knew about it. And Gary really did launch it fairly quietly for him because he wanted his true hardcore believers to be able to get access to it and not just blow it up so big in the news that basically it'd get all bought up by whales, people with huge resources. So the VeeFriends actually sat on the floor. So it was actually a Dutch auction. And what that is, I had no idea what that was before, but they started at the highest price they would go. So for example, the Optimistic Otter that is my profile picture, it has a white background. So it's a core version, which means it's a 1 of 20. So there are 20 total Optimistic Otters with the white background. So that one started, I think it was started at 3 ETH. And at the time, Ethereum was about $4,000. It was like at its all-time high or very close to its all-time high at the time. So it was about $12,000 this thing started out for just one picture of a otter on it, online. It's pretty crazy.
And
And
it's not just a picture, it's a doodle. It's a Gary
yeah.
doodle. And I mean,
But
like
to
my
most
niece is
people,
my
to
niece is
most people,
3 and
it's
I
just
think she could draw it.
yeah, it's just a picture. It's like, I mean, it is
Yeah.
nothing special. No offense, Gary. I think it's cute,
Right.
but it's
No.
really nothing special.
And I actually wish it were more smiley. Like, I like the smiling characters. Like, there are some characters he drew that I loved, but I was like, it looks sad, so I'm not going to pick it. I don't know. That's just me. But
Yeah.
yeah. And the only reason I had the confidence to do this was because I felt like I knew Gary so well, not personally, but I had just listened to him for so long and he had such a track record of really over delivering. And he talked about how in the future, when it's possible, when the laws change or whatever is options are available, he's going to make it worth everyone's while. So it's like, I'm investing in Gary long term, so I believe in it. Plus, he was also really smart for people like me who maybe aren't just crazy early adopters in general. He said, all right, every single VeeFriend you buy also comes with access to a big conference for 3 years. And I personally have paid $1,000 for a conference before. So I was like, okay, at a minimum, he's going to make this so amazing. That would be like $3,000 worth. So it started at 3 ETH, which is about 12,000, and then it ticked down to 0.5. So the lowest you could get these cores was at 0.5 ETH. So that was about $2,000 at the time if you were just buying ETH at that exact moment. So I thought, okay, $2,000 divided by 3 is actually lower than what I've paid for in the past for a conference. So if nothing else, it felt worth it to me as a conference pass with the opportunity that potentially would actually pay off as well in the future in other ways. Oh, I didn't even answer your question. So I remember. So after they sat on the floor, I was like, well, maybe I should get one more. Maybe I should get one more because damn, like I totally believe in Gary and people aren't seeing this. This is a great op. So I kept buying and buying, and I definitely bought more than one. So after that, I was like, I can't believe how much I put in. This is crazy. I'm not going to lose my house, but it's still way more than I ever thought I would. So I was like, I am not touching any other project. I'm not doing any more buys. I'm just going to close my eyes and run away and just let it sit. That
No
lasted
way.
a month, maybe.
Okay. I was like, what?
Well, and I burned up all my ETH. I was like, I'm not putting any more cash in. Like, this has to stop. Like, I'm not doing it. Plus, I also thought I could always sell one of my VeeFriends to make some or most of my initial investment back and just be, riding on house money. But then I was like, well, taxes are so high. Maybe I need to wait a year. So it's taxed at capital gains versus regular income. This is like all these crazy details you start learning when you're deep in this world. So I was like, well, I'll just try to hold all my VeeFriends for 1 year and then I'll sell one to try to recoup money and stuff. So anyway, long story short, I did end up putting more money into the market and did start buying other things. So now I kind of have so many things. It's starting to be hard to remember what I have. And I'm kind of feeling the pull of the pendulum back to be like, you know what? I need to just stop. I can't even keep track of all the Discord channels that I'm a part of or want to be a part of. Does your audience know about Discord channels?
Yes, they do.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes,
So yeah, I'm just like, I can't even keep up with them all. It's like a full-time job, just reading the announcements and like doing whatever they're talking about. So I've kind of been thinking about really just zoning in on a few that I love the most. So obviously VeeFriends, anything Gary does, I'm all in on that. And then recently I really like the project BFF.
Yes.
So we could totally talk about that. Yeah. And then I'm trying to think what else. Let me pull up my Discord. That reminds me which ones I'm in. I really do like Stoner Cats, which is not brand new, but Mila Kunis, she is the founder of it. So girl power, I love that. Even though most people think it's Ashton Kutcher who founded it, it's actually Mila. Ashton did voice one of the characters because they basically launched an NFT to fund creating a cartoon. So I feel like that could have some cool potential. So I'm in that one. I really like it. Boss Beauties is another female project that I really love. unfortunately, World of Women launched in this sort of period where I was like, I'm out of money and I am not doing anything else. Gary even went on Instagram and on Discord and he was like, hey guys, I really believe in this project. You should get it. I looked back at that video. At the time, I think World of Women was like 0.05 ETH, 0.1 ETH. I mean, it was
I
insane.
so wish I had gotten in. I did get a
I know.
Galaxy Girl.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and then I personally just didn't love the artwork of World of Women.
That's me either. Me
Yeah,
either.
and not that it's bad. It just didn't speak to me artistically as much as things. So I was kind of like, well, I don't have money. I don't want to put more money in. I'm kind of in the zone of doing nothing but Gary. So let me just, pass. And now I'm like, oh, I wish I got that. So Box Beauties, I did get one. I love the artwork of that one, and the BFF. I'm really excited about that one, which just launched too.
Nice. Okay. So I'm hearing that you went all in on Gary V, then you've expanded your horizons, and now you're like, oh, maybe I'm going to start tightening that up. And it's hard. It's addicting. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Like, I mean, it's so addicting that if you have ETH in your wallet just sitting there, it's so easy to go on a shopping spree.
It feels like play money, doesn't it?
No, and it's not. It's not play.
I know it's not play money, but it feels like it because it's not like actually coming out of your bank account. I mean, it is when you buy it, but then once it's in your wallet, you're like, oh, it's fine. It's it's like, yeah.
I know my husband and I, like, we're both pretty conservative with money. Like, we try to be very conscientious about things and not just like randomly buy stuff on splurges. But I have myself multiple times. Yet now I'm like, babe, it's not even an ETH. Just get it. And I'm like, who am I? This is crazy.
Yeah. So it's not even an ETH. It's half an ETH. It's like
not even 0.1 ETH. Okay.
Oh, that's funny. So I know one of the things obviously you're all in with Gary and VeeFriends. So you're going to be at VeeCon.
Yes.
What are you most excited about?
Yeah, so I would love to meet Gary in person for sure. So that would be cool. And then the second thing, I guess, is all about people, really. I would love to meet a lot of people that I've bonded with in the Discord over the past year, because I've really found like I'm so in this world, one with Gary and two with NFTs and the overlap of that. It's so hard to find people in real life who get you, which is why too, Aaron, when we ran into each other, it was like, oh my gosh, we like the same things. Let's talk about it for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because my neighbors have no idea what's going on. And like, if I bring it up, their eyes glaze over and change the subject. So it's so nice to just
totally know that
spend time. Yeah. With people who
get NFT and I started the show, honestly, because it was like, oh my God, we can talk about NFTs all day long. And talk to other people who care about them as much as we do,
Totally. Yeah. So I think Gary and meeting the other people I bonded with is the number one. And then I think he's doing some really unique stuff with the conference presentation or approach. So he's holding it in the US Bank Stadium. So it's where the Vikings play football. So it's
right. I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like a normal, typical one big stage and just chairs. There's going to be different booths and areas and multiple stages all set up on like the field. And then they're actually using skyboxes and like different rooms as breakout sessions or special experiences. So like sponsors are putting on unique experiences. There's like happy hours sponsored by Johnny Walker or Coinbase and who knows, like it's just going to be, it seems really cool so far, what I've seen.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there. We were supposed to be there and plans changed and we are unable to attend now, but
are you going to be at NFT NYC? Did we talk about that?
No, I'm not. So I'm also a new mom. So I pretty much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of have just really taken a step back too in a lot of those things. So I'm kind of like making an exception in this case. And actually, I'm so sad to leave my little monkey. Yeah. So I'm probably I might have to like fly home early and leave VeeCon early. We'll see what happens, or hopefully it's going to be so fun that I'll just.
Yeah. Well, there's FaceTime.
Yeah.
And I know it's not the same, but
Yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, if in my younger days, I would have been on a plane to go to every one of these NFT conferences for sure.
yeah. Well,
Awesome.
I am excited to hear how the event goes and all the, exciting things that happen, and then all the side events and other parties. I know I'm seeing like Fame Ladies are doing stuff, World of Women's
Mm,
doing stuff, Crypto Chicks are doing stuff, Women Rise. Like
yeah.
we actually just talked to somebody earlier today, Kitty Greer, who will be on an upcoming episode. And she was talking about how at NFT NYC, she's trying to do events to bring everybody together. And I mean, I know everybody at VCon is kind of doing separate events for, the different projects. Do you know, is there any sort of like, let's get all the women projects together and like
I think
join
there is
forces?
a collab party that I saw. It's conflicting with something else I committed to, so I didn't even bother to try to get on like
Yeah.
the
I'm
list
sure
to go.
there's
But
so many, it's going to be
I
impossible
know
to do
it is
everything you want to
crazy.
do.
But
You're
yeah,
going to
I
have to
think
pick and
World
choose.
of Women, Boss Beauties, Women Rise, maybe BFF too. Like the four of them, I think are doing like a
You know what? You're
co-party.
right. I did see something
Yeah.
about that, and I was like, oh, I wish we could just be there, if nothing else, for the side events. But
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, so it conflicts with something else I committed to, so I can't make that one, but I that
I'll
is
just
something
be
I'm very
having
excited.
FOMO.
Yeah, I wanna meet more women in this space because it is very bro dominated. Like, I have been called sir and bro so many times in
Oh yeah.
Discord, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
"Thanks for assuming I'm a guy," because that
right.
is the logical choice, but no, we women are here and we're growing, so we need more women in this space.
We
Definitely.
sure
And
do.
like we talked about, that's the goal of this show, is
Yeah,
to bring more awareness and help women learn and venture in, because it's not, I mean, it can be scary, but it's not scary if you have your friends.
totally. I
So
know,
much
just
fun.
reach out to anyone that you trust and say, "Hey, let's like screen share and get me started." The only thing you really have to worry about, because it is also a little bit scary in the sense of like you, you're the one holding the keys to the vault.
Yep.
So if you share the keys, the special passphrase or the codes like with someone else, they can steal everything in your digital wallet. So you have to really protect that.
Hmm.
But there, once you get the hang of it and you kind of learn the best practices, it's really not that crazy techy or that crazy scary. And there's tons of great resources specifically from the VeeFriends world. Gary really has done a great job, and his team has written blog after blog on how to do everything step by step. They even
Yeah.
regularly do like 2 hour live Zoom screen shares, like teaching people
Great.
exactly how to set up wallets, exactly how to buy their first NFT and go through all the steps. So the
Yeah.
resources are out there. If you're interested in it and you haven't tried it yet, like do what I did originally with my brother. I just put in $350 and I was like, if it goes away, it goes away.
Right.
Whatever you can afford, even if that's $50, $20. There
Mhm.
are projects that are even free. Sometimes you can mint projects completely for free or just for the gas, which is like a transaction fee. So don't be completely intimidated. If you're interested, just try it out small and you might get bit by the bug.
Yeah.
Join
Well,
us down the rabbit
I
hole.
would ask you for what's the best way to get in touch with you, but you're anonymous on this show, so you're not going
Yeah,
to share that.
yeah.
But I just want to say thank you so much for being on the
Sure.
show and sharing your journey. I,
Yeah.
obviously want to keep in touch with you and what you're looking at, and we'll definitely have you back on the show at a future date.
I would
If
love
you're,
that. Yeah, thanks for having me, and I hope that this was helpful or at least entertaining to
yeah,
people listening.
definitely,
Sure.
definitely.
For
So,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you
Thank
for
you
joining
so
us.
much, Optimistic Otter.
You're welcome. Bye, ladies.
Bye. So I thought that was an amazing interview with our Optimistic Otter. What'd you think?
Yeah, I really enjoy her. She's super sweet and super honest, and there's for her to kind of share her experience of going all in, that's like nerve wracking. And some people may want to do that. Some people may want to zero in on one or two specific projects, and then others want to kind of spread the love everywhere, and whatever,
like me,
works.
you can tell.
Yeah. Yeah. And me too.
I like to spread the love.
Me too. I do too. But like everyone's different. So I think it was really cool because you and I spread the love, but really cool to hear about someone who found a project that they want to zero in on and go all in on. And then even to hear her journey of like going all in on VeeFriends, and then to start to diversify, and then to all of a sudden like come back, and it's a cool journey that she's been taking. So it's really fun to hear.
Yeah, I think that we should have her back like in a few months and see where she's at, because things always change, and you just never know, what's going to happen and where you end up in all of this.
Totally agree. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So as always, I want to make sure that you guys are subscribing on the YouTube channel, and be sure to click that bell to be notified when new episodes are released. And take us home, Jen.
And as always, thank you so much for listening to the Nifty Chicks. Just remember, invest in yourself. You are worth it. Please listen carefully to the following disclaimer. Neither the host nor the guests of the Nifty Chicks podcast are acting in the capacity of financial advisors. We wish to remain transparent and impartial to the NFT community at all times, and therefore, the content provided by the Nifty Chicks hosts and guests are intended for general information purposes only. Nothing written or discussed by the Nifty Chicks hosts and guests should be construed or relied upon as investment, financial, legal, regulatory, accounting, tax, or similar advice. Nothing should be interpreted as a solicitation to invest in any cryptocurrency or NFT, and nothing herein should be construed as a recommendation to engage in any investment strategy or transaction. Please be advised that it is in your own best interest to consult with investment, legal, tax, or similar professionals regarding any specific situation and any prospective transaction decisions. You must do your own research when considering investing in cryptocurrencies or NFTs. We are simply sharing our journey with you as we learn more about the world of NFTs. Happy minting.